Hello, and welcome to this week's installment of Elements of Spirit. This is the free weekly reading series through the elements of earth, air, water, fire, and ether from ediblespirit.com, and your host, Michael Domitrovich. That's me, bringing you these readings to help you work with the dynamic forces that make up your life that we sense and even understand, but sometimes have a hard time keeping tabs on. These elements manifest in various ways: earth, air, water, fire. But this is the ether reading, for which is sort of like the space in which all these other elements are unfolding and unfurling and manifesting. And so the way that this series works is you listen to the ether reading first, and then you find the element that's associated with your sun sign. The descriptions for that are below. And then you listen to the ether reading and then combine it with your primary element reading, and you get a kind of guide as to how to work with these forces throughout the course of your week. Coming to you live from New Orleans, I guess taped from New Orleans, but I'm currently alive in New Orleans, and we'll see. I went to a cemetery this morning where Marie Laveau was buried, and I don't know how all y'all feel about voodoo. I have a healthy respect for it, I believe. I try not to go near it. But it's interesting. So we went to the grave of Marie Laveau, and there's a message that's actually coming through Marie Laveau today. So so it's I hesitate. I don't want you guys to tune into Edible Spirit and be like, voodoo reading this week. But just to be clear, it's a really interesting image. I see her pulling stuff out of her solar plexus. Physical, emotional, mental, spiritual stuff out of her solar plexus. How are we going to break this down? Okay. It's an interesting frequency. Voodoo can kind of get a bad rap, right? And Marie Laveau, as the queen of voodoo, can get a really bad rap. But just think about voodoo as a more earth-based, natural-based religion. We think about all the ghosts and sacrifices and hoodoo and juju and gree-gree and all that stuff, but it actually is a religion that comes from the earth, that has a lot of paying respect to and honoring your ancestors, but there's also tons of herbs and healing, but it's in a weird way, like it's aligned with the work that I do, because I don't want to just bring you a reading. I want to bring you a reading with an eye towards how it will manifest and unfold and unfurl in your daily life. So that's, voodoo, when you would get a reading back in the day, it wasn't about, oh, tell me my future. It was like, I have a pressing need. What do I do? How do I keep this person from harming me? How do I protect myself? Or how do I find love? But one of the reasons that it can get a bad rap is because a lot of voodoo practitioners, because they're surviving off of, this religion, will sometimes use voodoo to do spells or to do magic on someone without them knowing or without their permission. I don't do that. I don't believe in that. It's a violation of free will. And it causes karma to accumulate. It causes things to come back to you. So a lot of voodoo practitioners will have to actually do extra magic if they're doing something against someone's will in order to kind of karmically cover their ass. So I tell you all of this because Marie Laveau can get sometimes kind of a bad rap. I mean, Angela Bassett did her right in the recent American Horror Story, I think. But again, point is, I'm feeling like a very big kitchen witch, earth magic, herbs, flowers, coming from her. So the image that she keeps showing me is that of her pulling stuff out of her tummy, her solar plexus, her third chakra, both physical, emotional, mental, spiritual stuff. And it seems like she's kind of trying to tell us, like, clean the shit out of your solar plexus, like clean the stuff out of your solar plexus, center of power, center of strength, center of ambition, and for me, also the center of your self-concept, how you see yourself in the world, or in terms of conflict, it's like I versus the world, or self versus the world, self versus the group, whereas the second chakra is more like self versus other. Root chakra is like self versus self, so it's one versus one, one versus two, one versus three in the solar plexus, one versus the group. So it has a lot to do with work and making your way in the world, and associated with the element of fire, your inner flame. And I mean, she's pulling stuff out really viscerally, and harshly even. Um, but it's clear physical health, meaning like gut health, like pull the shit out of your physical guts. Emotional detoxifying, meaning how do you feel about your power? How do you feel about your strength? Are you afraid of it? Are you afraid of unleashing your fire? Do you hold back from it? Psychologically, what do you believe? Were you taught things? Do you believe things about, like, if I use my power, other people get hurt, or if I use my power, other people benefit, or if I use my power, I can do anything, or if I use my power, I can't do anything. Those are ideas about your power and ideas about your solar plexus. Amazing. And so what it seems like, as she's pulling this shit out, it looks kind of like stringy green, black, brown stuff. It turns into these very beautiful, fragrant flowers out of her hands. That feels like a later part of the message. This message actually, it's like your furnace. It's your center of power. If you have the wrong fuel in the furnace, it doesn't burn. So it seems like she's emphasizing, detoxification on all levels, physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, in order to clean out la merde. Clean out the shit. Clean out the la merde. Clean out the shit in your guts. Because underneath this physical, emotional, and mental stuff, there is an essence of your power. There is a center of your power. There's very cool. She shows it to me now with this big flame around it, and in the center is your eye. The eye. Interesting. Wow, I don't know who this is, but someone else is coming through and saying, and then the heart is the I in I. I and I. Wow, okay, so just to put it this way, it's like your true self, your self, ego, not as negative, my ego's out of control, but literally ego as I concept, the I concept, is in your guts, it's in your solar plexus. And the relationship that you build up with yourself is kind of through this solar plexus. How do I take things in and use my fire, my digestive fire, my will, my action, my goals, my self-concept to make choices in the world, to accomplish things in the world, to do things in the world. Maman Lavo, it's just like it's right there. It's right there. Yourself is right there. And you pulling out anything that is in the way of that essential I, that essential aspect of your power, where the power comes from, is major because it reveals your essential power. It reveals your essential power. So it seems almost like it's on a continuum. There's like a line here which says, like, remember that your essential power is in there somewhere, and that it's not your physical power. It's not your emotional power. It's not your mental power. It's your spiritual power, that force that's within you. Underneath the physical, emotional, mental toxicity is a spiritual I, I that is in a state of being. And then, interesting, going back to the heart, it's the I in I. It sort of says, this is where the I that is all meets the I that is you, or the I that is me. Sort of like the big I, higher self, all soul meets up with small self in the heart. But the way Mama Laveau is showing this to me is that it's almost like the I that resides in the guts needs to be detoxified physically, emotionally, mentally, in order to let the full spiritual fire emerge and activate itself. Wow, very cool. Okay. I am in charge of my power. It is given by the grace of God, but it is mine to respect and maintain. Wow. Okay, now, P.S., guys. This is an affirmation that is totally not coming from me. Usually they're coming from the elements. This one's coming through the ether from Maman Laveau. And she was Catholic. I found that out in the cemetery today, that she was Catholic, and that's why she was buried towards the front of the cemetery as opposed to towards the rear of the cemetery, where all of the people of color were buried. Our tour guide said that her religion, her Catholicism, trumped her skin color, so she was actually in the front of closer to the front of the cemetery. And so I'm just saying this because if you know me, I try to stay as like non-denominational and abstract as possible, because I find that doesn't cause anybody's buns to clench when I say God or Christ or Mary or whatever. But what we hear, or Buddha or Allah or whatever, I am in charge of my power. It is given by the grace of God. That's the I in I. But it is mine to respect and maintain. And how do you maintain it? You maintain it through choices based on the essential power of yourself, free of physical, emotional, or mental toxicity. So, P.S., Maman de Voodoo, right? This queen of voodoo, she, it's like, you don't really ask for mediation in voodoo, right? If you're in if you're in a conflict with someone, you typically don't call in a mediator to just talk things out sensibly. It's like, ugh, get it out, cleanse, purify, or welcome in new love. I sometimes think that if you focus too much on what you're trying to get rid of, you end up giving more power to what you're trying to get rid of. And voodoo doesn't feel that way. Voodoo's like, I'm going to fucking get this out of here, and then I'll cover my ass and take care of myself, and, I'll make sure I'm blessed, and I'll petition all the right gods and goddesses so that when we do this massive extraction, everything kind of falls into place, and my ass is karmically covered. Or, if we were to do a spell that God forbid, harmed someone, double the ass covering kind of needs to happen. So that's what I'm saying. There's really like a no holds barred approach to this, and that's why it's not just ether coming through today. And I mean, I was by her grave, like, although it occurred to me, I was like, I bet you she still is alive somehow. I don't know. We can talk about that later. But point is, she's not afraid. Maman Laveau is not afraid of pulling it out by the guts, by the hair, by the balls, by the taint. It doesn't like, get it out. Whatever it is, physical toxicity, emotional toxicity, mental toxicity. This is not about self-care. This is about get out the crap. And remember, it's because there's something essential hiding underneath it. Which is given to you. I am in charge of my power. It is given by the grace of God, but it is mine to respect and maintain. I would typically talk about this in terms of like purpose. I feel like even last week we were like, yeah, and don't forget, this is happening so that you can offer this gift to the world, offer yourself to the world, serve in the way that you're here to serve. But this is not that. This is not touchy-feely, Mikey, edible spirit, like purpose, healing, love. This is like get the shit out of your guts by any means necessary. Whether it's detoxification or gut health, right? Shout out to the So Retrograde girls. Gut health, emotional detoxification, which I always try to do with sweating and water, or else with energy work, or yoga is really good for emotional detoxification because it gets the body moving and it then gets the emotions to kind of flush and flood. Mental detoxification really requires, I think, like meditation, but something more active like chanting or affirmations. I am in charge of my power. It is given by the grace of God, but it is mine to respect and maintain. Spiritual detoxification just comes from being who you are as you are. And that's what we're talking about here. It's not really about like, how do we do that? It's Maman Laveau saying you get to that easily by pulling out whatever doesn't need to be there and detoxifying physically, emotionally, and mentally. And then this furnace of your I, the furnace of yourself, the furnace of your self-concept, yourself in the world, your ambitions, your fire, your will, what am I truly meant to do, is there. So that's the journey this week, is to unearth that essential power in your guts, in your solar plexus, through physical, herbal, cleansing, detoxification, emotional detoxification, mental detoxification, with the repetition of I am in charge of my power. It is given by the grace of God, but it is mine to respect and maintain. Merci beaucoup, Maman Leveau. Thank you to all of you. Please check out the rest of these readings. Let's see what happens. Air, fire, water, earth. See you soon. See you next week.